Welcome, students. We are in a new section. We have gone from the first section of the class where we talked about a lot of definitions, a lot of social science, anthropology, and framing of the study of magic and magic rituals. Now, for the rest of the class, we're going to be looking at more specific rituals and instances. So in this section on magic and magic rituals, we're going to look at two contexts. One is ancient Greek love magic, as expressed in Christopher Farone's book, Ancient Greek Love Magic. And then we will also be discussing magic in India, magic rituals in India, and we'll be looking at my own research on that. So without further ado, let's start talking about ancient Greek love magic. And this is a book that I really enjoy teaching, so I'm glad I'm able to share it with you. It's a really great book and was really sort of career and mind changing when I first read it, because it sets out a way to study magic that I hadn't seen before and really allowed me to think more clearly about what was going on in the Indian sources that I was translating out of Sanskrit. So ancient Greek love magic, context and taxonomy. So love magic or erotic magic is magic that manipulates desire. It brings about sexual subjugation. It can control behavior. It will force a desired person to come to the operator. The operator is the one who performs the ritual, the sorcerer, if you will, and will also cause a no longer desired person that you desired once to leave. So we find homologs, well, actually more analogs. We find analogs, which are similarities with different ancestors or sources. So it's an analog. It's when you see something similar, but it's not from the same source, as opposed to a homolog, which is where you see something the same and it has a similar source, or it has the same source. Sorry, it has the same common ancestor. So we find these analogs to love magic in all the religious traditions of magic in the world. Well, why is that? I think it's because human desire is a universal human problem. Love is different in every culture. You know, how we conceive of love or romantic love, or in general, how we construe these ideas of love is different. But sexual desire is pretty consistent world round. Hence, we're going to be talking about love magic or erotic magic. And when we talk about erotic magic, we're going to be talking about eros, which is a specific type of god, and a specific type of love and desire. And we'll get to that a little bit further along in this lecture. So far we studied all of these sort of theories of magic in general, and now we're looking at specific magic. We're learning about the Hellenic or Greek culture. This is also the classical Greek culture. But when we're studying this Hellenic world, we're looking for insights that will illuminate other systems of magic, specifically the Indic systems of magic that we'll be looking at later. Now, we're not just learning about the specific magic rituals, but we're seeing the magic rituals as reflections of a historical social world. Now, you can look at history and literature and text and data in general about the past, and you can say, is that a window? Can I look through that data, through that literary source, through whatever, to see clearly into the past? Or is it a reflection of the past? So in that sense, it's like a mirror. And traditionally, mirrors, until they were now made, had a lot of irregularities in them. So the image in every mirror would look a little bit different. So one has to ask oneself, are you seeing a clear depiction of that world as it is when you are looking at this data? Or are you looking at a reflected version? So you're not actually seeing pure historical sense, but you're seeing a reflection or even a refraction of that historical context. So magic rituals are different everywhere. I would argue, and I do say over and over again, magic is not sui generis. It is not existing in and of itself. So magic is not a thing that is the same everywhere and expresses itself differently. But there are similarities between traditions of magic worldwide for various reasons. Similar cultures, human cognition, the very nature of being humanity are some of them. Now, our main comparative section in our task in this section is to prepare ourselves to compare the rituals that we're looking at here and the effects of the rituals here with the ones that we see in Sanskrit magic rituals. Now, this field of study of the Hellenic world and the Hellenistic world, the Hellenic world is the world of Greece and Greek-speaking people. The Hellenistic world is the wider culture of the Near East and the Mediterranean that used Greek as a sort of lingua franca. So when we're looking at magic in the Hellenic world, and the study of magic in the Hellenic and Hellenistic world is large. It's a long time study. There's been a lot written. And I would argue that it's probably the most studied overall magical context in scholarship in general. So because it's so vast and so influential, really the way Greek magic is understood by scholars and academy folks does determine any other discussion of magic. There's always the influence of this thinking on the Hellenic world when we interpret any magical system. Some people would argue that you can always find the Greek world behind all Western culture, that everything is a reaction to it. All culture is a footnote to Plato, as one famous argument goes. So this is the context by which I think scholars have worked out most clearly their systems of magic that are operative and the theories around magic and the methods for studying this context. In fact, I'd been reading all these magic tantras about all these magic spells, and I didn't know what to do with them. Because in my field of South Asian religions, nobody had written about these things. There was like 3 articles that weren't really all that helpful. So it was only when I started reading widely, and specifically when I started reading scholars like Farone, that I found a method. So in this sense, the Hellenistic magic, or this Hellenic magic, I was able to think of it as a map for how I could do magic, a theoretical map, a theory map for doing magic in other conditions. Now, topic and thesis. I go about this all the time, talking about topic thesis in my writing class. Farone is a really good and clear writer. He's lively, and he opens his preface with a bold statement of his topic. His topic is ancient Greek love spells and charms, which are those rituals used mainly by men to instill erotic passion, or eros, in women, and those used primarily by women to maintain or increase affection in men. So if you want to see a little bit more on this, you can see there's a chart on page 28 that I'll talk about when we get a little bit further along. So Farone is highlighting the social functions and gender roles in magic operations. And from looking at these magic operations, this magic data, he's trying to reverse engineer principles and arguments about magic and about the culture that this magic tradition comes from. So this dynamic of rituals used by men to install eros in women, and women using rituals to endow philia, or affection, in men, does get inverted. It gets inverted when male-loving males and sex workers, courtesans and prostitutes, use eros magic against males. So that's females and people in a subordinate position, or female males, the male-loving, what we would call a gay gent these days. They are using eros against other men. We do see instances of philia being used against other men to influence court cases or friendships or some sort of social condition. But the principle here is that eros is used by men to make women crazy with desire. We see sex workers and men use them against men, not women, to create crazy desires. So subordinate males will include freed slaves. They're probably one of the biggest categories here that we see using eros. Okay. All right. So Hellenic, while Hellenic, or what do I mean by Hellenic? Once again, Greek in language, Greek in culture, Greek in land. While Hellenic cultures are considered misogynist, so sort of expressing a hatred toward women, what we're looking here is a more misandrist model. Misandry means sort of a hatred, a distrust, or an antagonism toward males. What we're looking at is a misogynist reading, which is usually taken on Greek culture, is that women's natural lasciviousness must be controlled, and controlled it is by magic. However, if you really look at what Farone is arguing and at his data, we actually see that it is the desires of men that are being controlled through magic. That's men's desires that need to be regulated and controlled. Now,